Hi guys, today is day 3 on watching water cool. I know it didn't sound very interesting, but there is a lot going on here. Um, so what we're going to be looking at today is how to have our calculators compute an exponential regression for us, an equation that's going to describe the behavior of this water cooling. So yesterday, this is what I was looking for from you, and a lot of you did a great job. You had your graph pretty accurate, and you also showed me that you had your lists filled in. For today's assignment, it's all going to be on the calculator. So when you submit your answer, it's going to be showing me that you have calculated the exponential regression on your calculator. All right. So what hopefully you saw yesterday as you graphed this was your graph was exponential, and it was exponential decay because those temperatures were decreasing, and that horizontal asymptote that you saw was room temperature. So hopefully you made those connections. If not, there you go. We just talked about it. Okay, so it's a little, this what you see here is a little different than the normal parent function for exponential decay. Notice that exponential decay on a parent function approaches the x-axis. This does not approach the x-axis. That horizontal asymptote, because it's 80 degrees, is 80 units above the x-axis. So just to show you what your calculator is doing here, you don't have to do this part on your calculator. I'm just kind of showing you here. Um, watch what happens. We've talked about this. Your calculator is, for lack of a better word, it's dumb. It does exactly what someone has told it to do. It does not think for itself. We are the ones that think for ourselves. So your calculator is told when it computes an exponential decay or an exponential growth, it's been told to use the horizontal asymptote as the x-axis. And that's not what's happening here. So watch what happens when I calculate an exponential regression here. So I'm just going to go through and calculate that. It did it. Now I'm going to type that in. Again, I'm just going through this quickly. Okay, and watch what your calculator is going to do here. Maybe. Might have to try this again. So your calculator, when it calculates this regression, it's not capable of doing this because it's not thinking. I think I see what the issue is. Right there, okay. So your calculator isn't thinking about following this. It's doing what it's been told to do. It's been told to level that off at the x-axis, and that's not what we want to do. And you can't see it happening. I'm going to change the window so you can see it happening a little more. We'll try it again. So watch, your calculator is not following that because it's not thinking. It's just doing what it's been told to do. It's going to level off at the x-axis. See, there it goes. All right, so this regression that it calculated for us is not the correct regression, okay? So what we want to do is fool the calculator here temporarily. All right, so this is where you come into play. So stat edit, we want to take this list, and here's the visual of what we're going to do. We're going to fool our calculator. Right now, our points do this, and our calculator wants to level it off at the x-axis. So we're going to fool it, and we're going to drop these points down 80 degrees, because that's where the horizontal asymptote is. So we're taking this line and dropping it down 80 degrees. And so what we need to do is take each one of our temperature values and drop it down 80 degrees. And there's a couple different ways to do this. One is you can just subtract 80 from each of these numbers. So you could say 210 minus 80 is 130, 157 minus 80 is 77, uh, 134 minus 80 is 54, etc. So we could do that. That wouldn't take long. But here's a different way to do this. On your calculator, if you go over to list 3, we could say we want to take 80 degrees off of every number in list 2. So watch. In our list here, here's list 2, here's list 1. We have to hit second to get that. So right up here, we want list 3 to be list 2 minus 80. And let's see what happens when we hit enter on that one now. Oh. Maybe we do it here. In list 3, up in the title. See, I'm up in the title now, up there. Let's try this, see if it works. I want to take list 2 minus 80. There we go. That should work now. So I was up in the title. I hit list 2, subtract 80, and look how it backfilled all those numbers here. And it fits the information here. So it took 210, subtracted 80 for 130. It took 157 and subtracted 80 for 77. It took 134 minus 80 to get 54. Okay, so now what we're going to do, instead of using list 1 and list 2 in our regression, we're going to use list 1 and list 3 for our regression. Okay, so quit out of there. Now go into stat calculate down to exponential regression, which is right there. And notice the X list is list 1. That's time. We still want to use that. And notice our Y list, it says list 2. We want to change that. We want to change it to list 3 here. So if we hit second 3, now that's going to use list 3 and calculate that. Okay, so for today's credit, I just want you to take a picture of your calculator showing me this information. Okay, and just to show you that that's now going to fit our graph, and I'm going to I'll keep it, I'll change it a little bit here. So now watch. It's not quite going to fit our graph. Here's why. Because remember, we dropped that equation down. We wanted it to reflect approaching the x-axis. So now that we've moved it down, now we want to move that information back up. And so now I'm going to take this equation. We know how to transform this and move it up 80. We're just going to move it up 80. And now watch what happens. We fooled our calculator temporarily, and now we moved it back up. And now notice how that equation perfectly fits the information that we were working on. So for credit today, I just want you to take a picture of your calculator, and it should say that information. And again, if you're struggling with this, my office hours are 9:30 and 12:30, and you can either catch me in the stream and type out your question, or I'll be in Google Meet under the name Freund's class.